Conceive, believe, achieve.
This is former UFC middleweight champion of the world, Michael Bisping.
Paddy the Baddy here. You're listening to Combat Sports UK.
And you're watching Combat Sports UK.
What's going on, everyone? I'm joined with Orion Cosce. He is set to return to the UFC Octagon on May 20th when he takes on Gilbert Urbina. Orion, thank you so much for taking the time.
Hey, not a problem, man. Thank you for having me.
Of course, and just first off, how'd this fight with Gilbert Urbina come together? How do you like the matchup, and how's training been going?
Honestly, just like every other matchup I get asked, hey, do you want to fight this guy? I say yes, and then I wait for them to either accept the fight or turn down the fight. So typically, I don't call out fighters. My management already knows I don't need to call out a fighter. I'll accept a fight that's given to me. Doesn't matter. And then training's been going really good. I feel really, really healthy. I feel strong. Like I said, I didn't do another, 5 rounds of sparring today. Typically you do like 3 rounds, getting ready for a 3-round fight. I'm doing 5 rounds and getting ready for a 3-round fight. So definitely feeling ready and prepared.
And, looking at your opponent, Gilbert Urbina, have you gotten to watch the footage on him, and what kind of stands out to you?
I watched a little bit on him. Just his last 2 fights, the one against Tresean Gore and then the one against Brian Battle. I haven't seen any of his older stuff before that, besides one other one, but it was a couple of years back. It was against Angelo Trevino. So, he comes out very aggressive in the first round, but then he starts to taper off in the latter half of the first round. You can tell that he's one of those guys that comes out full berserk. So based off that and based off what I've seen, where if he takes your back, he does a pretty good job, especially if he gets that body triangle in. But other than that, just well-rounded guy. I'm expecting him to come in just hungry, ready to go. He's off back-to-back losses right now. Typically, he fights at 185. He hasn't fought at 170 in a long time. So, like I said, I'm fully expecting a very different Gilbert Urbina this coming fight.
What do you think gives you the advantage over him?
Just my explosive power. I'm going to be a lot meaner on the inside. I feel like he's going to try to use his reach to his advantage, but I've been doing a lot of striking and grappling MMA rounds with people who are taller and longer just to get prepared. And, I'm always going to have to prepare for that. I'm only 5'11" with the 71-inch reach, so I got average reach for my average height. Mm-hmm. Whereas these guys, they're like 6'3" with 75-inch reach, but I'm pretty much used to that. I've been used to that my whole career. So I don't have a problem with it. It's going to be a game of inches, and this, it's going to be one of those scenes where if he wants to wrestle, man, I've been wrestling my whole damn life, so I ain't going to get tired there.
And you mentioned that. Who have been your main sort of go-to training partners for this one at Team Alpha Male?
Team Alpha Male, I've been in and out of there. A lot of my camp was more so focused back at my workplace for UFC in Rockland, so I can just kind of like get that white belt mentality again. I got really sick after my last fight, and I was sick just on and off nonstop, especially after getting that COVID shot. I was just really, really sick all the damn time. And then once I got my IV flush in January, I haven't been sick since. I've only gotten sick one time with food poisoning. That was it. But for the most part, though, I was staying out of there because I would train like one time, be sick for 2 to 3 days. And so I told my management of the UFC, I was like, hey, let me like try to figure this out. I'm going to get healthy ASAP. Fortunately enough, I did that IV flush. Been feeling great ever since, right? So I would have to say like the main training partner from there though is Luke Brewer, because like if I go down there in the mornings, then I'm working with him, or he'll come up to my workplace and he'll like get rounds in and train with me, which is really nice too. But I've also had like a lot of other guys in terms of like bigger bodies, like taller boys with long arms and stuff like that, heavier bodies like 220, 240. To do my kickboxing sparring with, to do my MMA rounds with, to do my grappling with. That way I can move bigger people that are also strong and explosive, and making it to where I have to watch out for like the long armed arch chokes or, the bad takes. I'm working out of those positions. So a lot of my training camp's at my workplace right now. But like I said, I did pop in for the sparring rounds for Alpha Male and try to get there in the mornings when I can.
And I was going to ask, because it'll end up being about 10 months of a layoff before, your fight. Was that, and, you mentioned you're sick a lot. Was that sort of caused the layoff? And has it been frustrating for you not being able to be in the octagon?
It's always frustrating. I like to fight, every week, every other week. I'm that kind of guy. I'm used to wrestling tournaments and stuff like that. Like football season, having a game every week. So it was definitely very frustrating not being able to have those fights as frequently as I wanted to. But hopefully this year that all changes. And then, yeah, no, when you're sick, it's hard to cut weight. It's hard to train. If you're not training, it's kind of hard, right? You don't want to go in there looking super sluggish. And what if you end up like cutting, like maybe I could fight at 185 when I was super sick. But the problem with that is you're not going to get 100%, Orion Cosce. You're maybe going to get like a 50%, 65% Orion Cosce. And I know the UFC and my management don't want to see that. So it just comes down to whether or not they'd be okay with that. And we all know the answer is going to be no. They want to see a fully healthy or at least 90% healthy and recovered fighter going in. That way they're not wasting their time. I'm not wasting my time. So, like I said, I'm looking forward to May 20th.
Were there other opportunities that you had to turn down because you're saying, I'm sick, I'm not 100% right now?
Oh, yeah, there's at least 2 or 3 different fights. But I let my management know that I would keep in touch with them. I was like, hey, like, let me figure this out because I also have a heart condition. So it's one of those things where the heart condition was fine to deal with. But after I got that shot, I'm not telling people like the shot doesn't work. If it worked for you, awesome. I'm just telling people it didn't work for me. It messed me up. Right. And I'm allowed to say that because, well, it did. So I wish I never took it. Like I only took it because I thought I was going to have to fight in Singapore. Then that got canceled. And then leading up to my fight in Dallas, I was getting sick as well. And during the weight cut, the weight just did not want to come off. And then afterwards, we celebrated the win. Got to celebrate a little bit, but I had to force myself to recover while on vacation and stuff. Did a little bit of workouts, but I could feel like my body was starting to get way more sore, way more fast. And I knew something was like way off. So fortunately enough, my management was able to talk to the UFC about letting me recover, letting me heal up, and letting me do what I have to do in order to get my body back to the healthy Orion that everyone saw back in 2020 and 2019, where I fought 3 times in 5 weeks.
And looking at 2023, is your goal to fight multiple times this year, and what are sort of your long-term goals for the end of the year?
I like to fight 3 times, 4 times before the end of the year, but I've been saying that for the last 2 years, and then things happen. Like I had the nerve damage with the neck injury and the brachial plexus pinched nerves. I shut down my right arm and all that stuff. That was at the end of 2020. And then I didn't get my first fight till 2021. And I still, I took that fight with the nerve damage, not fully recovered. I thought I was there, but the right arm went numb during the second round. And so I changed my game plan up. Instead of like staying heavy with like inside grappling, I started just saying, hey, like I got to go for something, which at the end of the day, you live and you learn. It's one of those things. And then with the last fight, I didn't want to get the COVID shot whatsoever. Ended up having to get the COVID shot because I thought I was going to have to travel to Singapore for a fight. That fell through. But then afterwards, like just training and staying healthy was kind of harder. And I've talked to a bunch of different like fighters and athletes who, once they got their COVID shot or like they got the multiple shots, they haven't been the same since. So it's just one of those things where you live and you learn again. But this year, I definitely want to be very active, and that's why I'm making sure to stay away from sick people, stay healthy, make sure I focus on my recovery when I need to, keep my weight down, try to get a fight at 170. And if they ask me like, hey, can you fight again next week? I'm not going to cut down to 170 week after week. But if they told me like, hey, we can do a catchweight 180 or a fight at 185, I'm down to do that. I'm down to fight at both weight classes, 170, 185, and fight back-to-back weeks. Or even fight like once every 2 weeks. Like I want to be very active this year.
So you're headed back to the Apex. Your last fight was in front of fans. How are you feeling about that? Are you wishing there were fans for this fight, or are you comfortable in the Apex?
I don't care for the Apex. I like the fans. I like hearing the noise. It's way more fun that way. The Apex, you get like a few people, a couple celebrities, people who have money, and it's just like, that's cool, but like I'd rather be surrounded by like actual fanatics.
Yeah, definitely. I feel that. And then your brother Lewis, not in the UFC at the moment, but he's got a fight coming up. How do you see that one playing out for him, and how is it, training with him?
Oh, it's awesome. I mean, I haven't been able to train with him in a long time, but every time that we get to train, he's always great. He's looking better and better each time. Definitely, took a mental toll after that last one because he knew he should have done more. And everyone admits like it was a pretty boring fight. And both guys, they talked about it afterwards and they both agreed like, yeah, we should have both done more as athletes. It wasn't our best performance. And it's just one of those fights where that fight goes either way if both fighters do more, right? Be willing to get in that pocket, exchange, and throw. But Lewis went through a training camp where he was trying to show more technique and skill rather than just being that brawler Lou that we all know. So I'm expecting my brother to go back out there and look for a vicious knockout against this guy. Either that or get a submission on the ground, heavy ground and pound, just going to be well-rounded everywhere. So anytime we get to train together, it's always good because he lives up in Humboldt, whereas I'm living down in Roseville. So
Fair enough. And then going back to your fight, May 20th, Orion Cosce, Gilbert Urbina. Orion, tell me how this fight goes down.
I feel like he's going to come out swinging. I'm going to be calm, cool, and collected. I just want to get a finish, man. I want to get in there and get out of there with a finish, get my hand raised. I'm not looking past him, though. He's going to be very hungry, like I said earlier. He's going to be looking for his own finish. He's going to be looking to grind for a win. He just, in his mind, he needs to win. And that's my mind, too. I need to win. Every single fight from here on out, I need to win. I have to. There is no more losing. We've already gone through that once. We got to get that win streak going back up again. Work hard, get out there, get a knockout or a submission, and then get out, celebrate a little bit, go home, start training again for another fight.
Well, Ryan, I wish you the best of luck. Guys, Orion Cosce returns to the octagon on May 20th when he takes on Gilbert Urbina. Orion, thank you so much for taking the time.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
Of course.